Mubarak. I'm really grateful to be here with you. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt like because you have kind of contradictory voices in you that you feel like an imposter? Feel like maybe you're not authentic or genuine or you're a fraud? Because I want to talk to you about that, because this is really completing the arc of freedom that we've been talking about in February. And it actually ties in perfectly with something that I encountered this week at Rythmia. You know, I get the great pleasure of getting to share my gifts and talents here and to be of service. It is such an honor and such an incredible, such a miracle, such a miracle. So I was talking to a lady this week who was in a very abusive marriage that was on top of lots of childhood abuse, sexual abuse, abandonment, inconsistent care from caregivers, dangerous, not safe situations, etc. And she was talking about her father. And she was so heavy because there was a part of her that loved her father and a part of her that really didn't and was angry and hurt. And just saying to her that it's okay to have both of those voices. That doesn't mean that you're an imposter or a failure or fake. Changed everything for her. And I saw her, that was yesterday afternoon going into ceremony. I saw her this morning in class. Complete transformation. She did the work last night. The medicine did the work. She and the medicine did the work. It was amazing. But I think the beginning for a lot of us is to realize that we have multiple voices within us. And that having multiple voices doesn't mean that we're inauthentic. For example, you know, well, let me back up and just say this month we've been talking about freedom. We started talking about, you know, everything belongs. All of us belongs, all the parts. Talking about how we exile some parts and collapse into others. The second week of the month, we talked about how that was really self-acceptance, right? The first part was self-acceptance. Everything can come in. I'm not going to exile anything. Everybody gets a seat on the bus. Not everybody gets to drive, but everybody gets a seat on the bus. Come on. That's self-acceptance. Radical self-acceptance. Everything belongs. Radical self-love is now it's not that I'm just letting them on the bus, but I'm actually taking care of them. I'm offering care, comfort, nurturing, tenderness to those parts of me. I'm not just like, sit your ass down and shut up, right? It's like, could I get you something? What do you need? Right? That's love. Approaching it with tenderness. Radical self-compassion comes out of love. Love is a state of being. Compassion is the activity of love. And so now it's that action of like loving those parts. Like first I could just let them in the bus. Then I could accept and be loving towards them. And then radical self-compassion is that I actually take compassionate action, loving actions towards myself and towards those parts of me, you know? Because our greatest wound is not that we don't feel enough or that we have addictive practices or that we are controlling or that we feel abandoned or that we don't feel lovable or that we don't feel safe. Our greatest wound isn't that. Our greatest wound is that we turn against the part of us that doesn't feel enough. Our greatest wound is that we try and get rid of the controlling part. We try and get rid of the part that feels guilt or shame. That's the actual wound. Self-acceptance is the beginning of healing that wound. Self-love is the beginning of healing that wound. Self-compassion is the activity of healing that wound. And finally, we get to radical self-responsibility, which is this week's talk. Everybody belongs. Everybody gets a voice. And now I'm sitting in this tension. What do I do now that I have these contradictory voices? You know, there's a part of me that feels like for that lady, for example, she was angry and she loved him. She was angry at her dad and she loved him. You know, you can treasure certain memories, you grieve over others. Having those two parts can be confusing, but both voices belong in her. What have we allowed our body to be the place where multiple voices, multiple ideas can exist? I mean, I'm spiritual and occasionally petty, you know, right? What about that? What about the part of you that knows that everything's going to be fine, everything always works out for me, I got this, and the part of you that's scared shitless that you don't have what it takes? Do you kick the part that doesn't have what it thinks it doesn't have what it takes? Do you kick that off the bus? Get the fuck out. We don't got room for you here. Because it doesn't actually get off the bus. It's like one, you know, those thriller movies where they like the guy's like hanging off. There's somebody driving the car and there's somebody hanging on the hood. You know, that's the part of you. It doesn't really get kicked off the bus. It's just hanging on the window, blocking your view so you can't drive. You know. So, the movement isn't to get rid of it. That's the wound. The part of us that doesn't feel like we have enough to make it, that's afraid, beating that part up does not take care of it, doesn't get rid of it, doesn't make it go away. It just has us collapse into the harder, faster, longer, stronger. I'm gonna fucking do it. And you do. And it pushes you. And then you get that a goal, you get that achievement, you get that money, you get that job, you get that status, you get whatever it is. And is it ever enough? Has one person ever said, you know what? That's enough. Now I'm enough. Now I've achieved that and I'm enough. Never happens, does it? It doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. So the move isn't beat that part up. The move is bring it on board. Now it's on board. Now I can be loving towards it. I can accept it. I can love it. I can be compassionate. Well, now I got a bunch of different voices on the bus. What the fuck do I do with that? That's where radical self-responsibility comes in. And we don't want to foreclose. We don't want to jump to a conclusion because that's just the old figure it out strategy voice trying to move quickly to get us out of discomfort. Well, I can't have all these contradictory voices. So what's the move? How do I resolve this? What are the 5 steps to resolution? What's the strategy? That's more of the old way of being, more of the fix it way of being. So in this new model, we let everybody on the bus. We don't make anybody, no seat assignments, you know, everybody gets to sit where they want. And then we wait. And what might emerge while we're waiting for synthesis to occur, for harmony to occur, while we're waiting for everybody to get to know each other and love each other, there might be a choice to be made. There might be an action. You know, there might be some loving action. There might be a choice. There might be a pause. What is Spirit directing you to do? This is the question, right? This is the question when I didn't turn on the chat, so I don't know. Okay. When we have multiple voices within us and we're allowing them all to be, and while I'm waiting for that harmonization to occur, I still have to take action in life. So we listen. And sometimes when we listen, we don't hear anything. So maybe listening in this sense, and you don't hear anything, is a sign to pause. I'm not gonna do anything until I have a clear invitation or an intuitive hit. Maybe there is an action to take. One small step that could be reversible. Like maybe I'll gather some information. Maybe I'll make a commitment to do that for a week. Maybe I'll make a phone call, right? Maybe there's a small step. Maybe there's a choice to be made. Like, I can do this. I'm going to go ahead and start this. So radical self-acceptance, radical self-love, radical self-compassion. And now what's the responsible step? What's the next responsible thing to do? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a small reversible action. Maybe it's a choice. Maybe there's a step, maybe there's a choice, maybe there's a pause. So think about two polarities in your life. Something that you're struggling with, something that you notice about yourself, right? Maybe it's that you swing back and forth from knowing that you're fucking amazing and feeling like a piece of shit. You know, maybe like, oh my God, when somebody praises me, I feel great. And the minute somebody criticizes me, I'm a ball of, you know, a ball of what? A crying ball of mass on the floor. That's a polarity. So pick something in your life. Pick some polarity in your life and hold, you know, both of those things. Let them on the bus. The part of you that feels enough, the part of you that doesn't. The part of you that, I was talking to a guy today at lunch. He's like, my mind is so active. It wants to know, it wants to figure things out. It wants to, and I was like, don't beat that part up. So there's the active mind trying to figure things out, trying to make sense of things. And there's the other part of him that's like, this is ayahuasca. You're in a process. Wait and allow. There's a part that like, yeah, I want to figure it out. Okay, there's the polarity. So radical self-acceptance, both are allowed to be there. Radical self-love, oh my God, I can see the part that wants to know everything and figure things out, and it protected me, kept me safe. I really appreciate that. I love that part. And the part that's like willing to do something different and not force the conclusion and to wait and listen and oh, I love this new part of me. That's radical self-love. Radical self-compassion. What can I do? What's an action that I can take towards these? You know, it's one loving action, one loving expression. Maybe it's listening to both and acknowledging both sides. And then radical self-responsibility. What is there to do? Well, in this situation, I encouraged him to listen. Listen to spirit. You ask spirit. You are spirit. Ask spirit. What are you inviting me to see here, spirit? What's the next? Is there a choice? Is there a pause? Is there a step? Is there a change of perspective? What is it that I need to see here? Let me know. And then listen. And if you don't hear anything, that's okay. That's a signal to pause. You hear something, follow up on it. That's the responsible thing. Self-acceptance, self-love, self-compassion, self-responsibility. So this is our talk today. I'm so grateful to share this with you. I hope it was impactful and opened up something for you. I'm just knowing that the spirit in me and the spirit in you are connecting, and that I don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. But just us being open and available to connect, something wonderful is happening. And I'm wishing you much love and lots of peace. And I'll see you next week. Blessings.